Hello, my dear ones. I'm glad you're here today. I don't believe in coincidences, and the fact that you clicked on this video tells me something deep inside you has already started noticing. Something is not right. Stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal may disturb you, but it may also protect you in ways you never imagined. I wasn't always who I am today. There was a time I walked in darkness, a time I was deeply involved in things most people don't even believe exist. I was part of circles where manipulation, hidden influence, and spiritual control were not myths, they were daily practices. And today I'm here to expose what many still choose to ignore. One of the biggest lies people believe is that darkness always looks obvious, that witches or practitioners of dark arts always appear strange, isolated, or different. That is not true. In fact, the most dangerous environments are the ones that feel completely normal on the surface. You could be surrounded by people who smile with you, laugh with you, even pray with you. And yet, behind closed doors, they are working against your peace, your progress, and your spiritual protection. I've seen it. I've been part of it. And that's why I need you to listen carefully. The first shocking sign your environment may be filled with hidden spiritual manipulation is a constant, unexplained heaviness. I'm not talking about normal stress. I mean a weight that seems to sit on your chest the moment you enter certain places. A draining feeling that doesn't match your situation. But then we used to intentionally create such atmospheres. Through repeated rituals and focused intention, spaces could be altered, energy shifted to make others feel weak, confused, or emotionally unstable. When you feel drained without a clear reason, it's not something to ignore. Another sign is sudden, repeated conflict. You might notice that arguments happen more often in certain places or around specific people. Small issues turn into big fights. Misunderstandings multiply. It feels like peace is constantly being disrupted. This is not always accidental. In the circles I was part of, creating division was one of the easiest ways to gain control over a person's life. When relationships break down, people become vulnerable. And vulnerability makes manipulation easier. Then there's something even more subtle. Patterns of bad luck that don't make sense. You try to move forward, but something always blocks you. Opportunities slip away at the last moment. Plans collapse without explanation. I remember clearly how we used to focus on individuals, repeating actions meant to create obstacles in their path. It wasn't always dramatic. It was subtle, consistent interference that slowly broke their confidence and hope. Another major sign is feeling watched, even when you are alone. I know this sounds unsettling, but many people experience this and brush it off. That constant awareness, that feeling like your privacy is being invaded without physical evidence. In my past, attention and focus were powerful tools. The more someone was watched or targeted, the more their life could be influenced. And sometimes the person being targeted could feel it, even if they didn't understand why. You may also notice strange changes in your sleep. Nightmares that feel unusually real, waking up tired no matter how long you sleep. Feeling restless at specific hours, especially late at night. Sleep is one of the most vulnerable states of the human mind. It was often used as an entry point. When defenses are low, influence becomes easier. If your sleep suddenly changes without reason, it's worth paying attention. Another sign that many overlook is sudden emotional shifts. You might feel happy one moment and deeply anxious or irritated the next without any clear trigger. These mood swings can feel confusing and overwhelming. In the past, emotional instability was something we intentionally created. When a person cannot trust their own feelings, they become easier to guide, easier to mislead, easier to control. You may also notice certain individuals who seem unusually interested in your personal life. They ask deep questions, gather information, and remember details you've forgotten sharing. At first, it feels like care, but sometimes it's something else. Information is power. The more someone knows about you, your fears, your weaknesses, your desires, the easier it becomes to influence your decisions and reactions without you realizing it. Another subtle sign is objects being moved or going missing, only to reappear later. Many dismiss this as forgetfulness, but repeated patterns should never be ignored. In certain practices, physical surroundings are used as tools, not always in obvious ways. Small disruptions can create confusion, doubt, and unease over time. You might also feel disconnected from yourself, like you're not fully present, like something is clouding your thoughts or pulling your focus away from what truly matters. This was one of the most effective tactics I witnessed, creating distraction. When a person loses clarity, they lose direction, and without direction, they become easier to influence. There are also environments where you suddenly lose motivation. You enter with energy, but within minutes, you feel tired, lazy, or uninterested in anything productive. This wasn't random. Energy manipulation was often used to suppress productivity. A distracted and unmotivated person is far less likely to recognize what's happening around them. Sometimes the sign is in repeated coincidences that feel too perfect or too strange. You think of something and it happens immediately, but not always in a good way. Back then, we used to call this nudging reality. Small influences, repeated consistently, can shape outcomes in ways that seem natural but are actually guided. You may also feel a strong urge to isolate yourself in certain environments. You avoid people, withdraw from conversations, and prefer to be alone, even if that's not your usual nature. Isolation weakens people. It removes support systems. It makes them easier to influence without interference from others who might notice changes. And perhaps one of the most dangerous signs is when all of this starts to feel normal. When the heaviness, the confusion, the tension, it all becomes part of your daily life. Because once something feels normal, you stop questioning it. And when you stop questioning, you stop protecting yourself. I'm telling you all this not to scare you, but to wake you up. These signs are not always what they seem, but they should never be ignored. In my next part, I will go deeper. I will reveal signs that are even more hidden, things most people would never suspect, even if they were happening right in front of them. Stay alert, stay aware, and most importantly, don't dismiss what your intuition is trying to tell you. Hello again. I'm glad you stayed, because what I'm about to share now goes deeper than what most people are willing to hear. These are not just surface level signs, these are the hidden layers, the things that even I didn't fully understand when I was still inside that world. There are environments where the air itself feels different, not just heavy, but almost charged. Like something unseen is constantly moving, shifting, observing. When you step into such places, your body reacts before your mind does. Your shoulders tense, your breathing changes, your instincts whisper warnings you can't explain. I remember places like that. Rooms where rituals had been repeated so often that the atmosphere held on to them. Energy leaves an imprint, and when it's reinforced again and again, it doesn't just fade away, it settles, waiting. Another sign is when certain people avoid eye contact in a very specific way. Not out of shyness, but as if they are hiding something deeper. Yet at other times, their gaze becomes intensely focused, almost piercing, like they're trying to read you, measure you, understand how far they can go. That kind of observation is not casual, it's intentional. I used to be taught how to study people without them realizing it, their reactions, their habits, their emotional triggers, because once you understand someone deeply, influencing them becomes much easier. You may also notice strange symbols or patterns appearing repeatedly in your environment. Maybe in decorations, clothing, drawings, or even random objects. At first, they seem meaningless. But over time, the repetition starts to feel deliberate. Symbols were never random where I came from. They carried intention. Even the smallest mark could represent something deeper, a signal. a focus point, a silent form of communication that most people would never recognize. Another unsettling sign is when conversations seem to shift unnaturally. You might be talking about something ordinary and suddenly the topic changes in a way that feels forced, like you're being steered somewhere without knowing why. This is a subtle form of control. Guide the conversation, guide the thoughts, guide the thoughts, guide the decisions. It's not always obvious, but once you notice it, you can't unsee it. There are also moments when you feel like your thoughts are not entirely your own. Ideas appear suddenly, impulses push you toward actions you wouldn't normally take, and later you question why you even felt that way. I've seen how suggestion can be planted so deeply that a person believes it came from within, and that is one of the most powerful forms of influence, when control feels like free will. Another sign is repeated technological disturbances around specific places or people. Your phone glitches, calls drop, devices behave strangely but only in certain environments. Back then, we didn't rely on technology, but I've seen how interference, whether intentional or not, can align with deeper disturbances. When patterns repeat, they deserve attention. You may also feel a strong discomfort around certain individuals without any logical reason. They haven't done anything obvious, yet your body reacts as if it senses danger. Never ignore that feeling. Your intuition recognizes things your conscious mind cannot yet process. I ignored it once and I paid the price for that silence. Another deeper sign is when people around you seem to mirror your behavior excessively. They copy your words, your actions, your tone. At first, it feels harmless, even flattering. But over time, it becomes unsettling. Mirroring is a tool. It builds trust quickly. It lowers your defenses. And once those defenses are down, influence becomes easier to apply without resistance. You might also notice that certain individuals always appear at critical moments in your life. Right when you're about to make a big decision, when you're vulnerable, when you're unsure, they show up. That timing is not always coincidence. In the circles I knew, timing was everything. Influence works best when a person is already at a crossroads. There are also environments where your focus constantly breaks. You try to concentrate, but something always distracts you. Noise, thoughts, interruptions, it never stops. Distraction keeps you from seeing clearly. It keeps you from connecting the dots. And when you can't see the full picture, you remain easier to control. Another sign is a sudden loss of interest in things that once mattered deeply to you. Your passions fade. Your goals feel distant. Your purpose becomes unclear. This is not just emotional. It can be influenced. Because a person without purpose is far easier to redirect than someone who knows exactly where they are going. You may also experience repeated déjà vu in certain places. Not occasionally, but frequently, almost unnaturally so. Like you've been there, seen that, felt that, too many times. In my past, repetition was used to create familiarity. Familiarity creates comfort, and comfort lowers awareness. When you feel like something is familiar, you question it less. Another hidden sign is when people seem to know things about you that you never shared. Personal thoughts, private struggles, things you kept to yourself. This is where things become unsettling, because information can be gathered in ways you may not expect. And once someone knows you deeply, they can reach places others cannot. You might also notice subtle encouragement toward negative habits, not directly, but through suggestion, normalization, or quiet approval. This is how influence grows, slowly, quietly, until what once felt wrong begins to feel acceptable, even natural. There are also environments where time feels distorted. Hours pass quickly or painfully slow. Your sense of time becomes unreliable. Time perception can shift when your mind is overwhelmed, distracted, or influenced. And when you lose track of time, you lose control over how you use it. Another sign is feeling emotionally drained after interacting with specific people. Not just tired, but deeply exhausted, like something has been taken from you. I've seen this happen countless times. Energy exchange is real, and not all exchanges are balanced. You may also feel like you're being subtly tested. People say things to provoke reactions, to observe how you respond, to measure your emotional control. These tests are not random, they reveal your weaknesses. And once your weaknesses are known, they can be used. And finally, one of the most hidden signs is a quiet voice inside you telling you something is wrong, but you keep ignoring it. I ignored that voice for years. I silenced it. I convinced myself everything was normal until I couldn't anymore. That voice is not your enemy. It's your warning system. In the next part, I will reveal the final layer, not just the signs, but what you must do when you recognize them, because awareness without action is not enough. Stay with me, because what comes next may be the most important part of all.